Hey guys, it's Aman
and Christina
from
Our Rich Journey.
This video is all about Christina. I don't even know why I'm here. I just do the intros, but she is gonna blow your mind with her story.
Okay, so in our comments, we've been getting a lot of comments or reading a lot of comments about people who are interested in what we do. Aman is an urban planner and I'm an attorney, but I didn't become an attorney until my very later stages of my professional career. So I'm gonna talk about that experience, and I'm gonna talk about it through the lens of being a parent when our kids were 5 and 3 years old. That's when I started law school, and how that experience worked out.
Well, you said later stages. You were the old person at law school.
Yeah, I was definitely considered the old person. So let's talk about that experience. So I really want to talk about my experience in terms of couching it with some tips that if anyone's interested in going back to school after taking off a long break, these are some tips that you can use to help you be successful. But I sort of want to give you a background of how we got to law school. And I say we because I had a huge support system, especially from Aman.
So our story is we were living and working in Spain. The kids were 3 and 5, and we made this decision to just flip our lives upside down. Christina is so amazing. She is super intelligent, and law school just made so much sense. So when we were in Spain, we decided as a family that Christina would go back to law school, and me and the kids were 100% in support of that.
So the beginning part of our journey for law school began with the LSAT. And because we were living in Spain, I had to take the LSAT in Madrid, Spain. And I applied to several different schools and I ended up selecting UCLA. Now, law school is a 3-year program. So I spent the first 2 years at UCLA. I spent the last year at Berkeley. After I committed to UCLA Law, we found out that the closest Aman could get for a job was in San Francisco. So he was going to be going from Spain to San Francisco, and me and the girls would be moving down to UCLA for law school. So this brings me to my first tip. You really have to have a very sound and secure support system. And by this, I mean that Aman was working in San Francisco, like I said, and we were down in LA, but every single weekend, Aman either flew or drove all the way down to LA. And then on top of that, he switched his schedule so that he could work from home and also have extended weekends so that he was home in LA for about the same amount of time each week that he was in San Francisco.
So I was really fortunate to be able to have a job that allowed me to work from home, but it was something that we still had to do. I had to work while Christina was in law school, and the closest we could find was a job for me in San Francisco. But the solution of working at home was one thing that really helped. Let's talk about this support system. So one of the things that we did was that we decided to live in family housing at UCLA. It's actually graduate family housing. And the reason why we chose that goes back to this support system. We knew that we would surround ourselves with other families that were in the similar situation where they had one or maybe both parents in school at the same time.
So this was a great way for us to meet people that were similarly situated. Our kids made friends really quickly, and we also were able to form this group of people that we sort of swapped babysitting duties throughout the week.
So at this point in our lives, there is a lot going on. We have small children. I work from afar. Christina is in her first year of law school. And with that type of chaos, the next and most important thing you have to do is have a detailed schedule. You have to be well organized.
This was really important for me because when Aman wasn't in town, I had to take the girls to and from school, to different appointments, and I also had to, of course, make all of my classes. Which leads me to my third tip, which is don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, I'm not afraid to ask Aman for help at any time, just like he's not afraid to ask for help from me. But one of the big things I think as a returning student is you have to feel free and open to ask for help from other students. Now this means as an older student, reaching out to much younger students and asking for help. And if you feel uncomfortable with that, I think that's something you have to get used to because you have to be able to ask for help in order to be successful.
I witnessed this, and I would see Christina getting help from kids that were 19 and 20 years old that were in law school. Now these are like these genius kids, but it was really amazing for me to see that. Now, asking for that type of support, a lot of older students feel like they have too much pride to do that. But if you are focused on accomplishing your goals, you cannot be afraid to ask for help.
And my next tip is don't procrastinate and use your time wisely, especially for law school, because in law school, at least for your first year in law school, all of your grades are based off of 1 grade per quarter or per semester. So if you get behind and you're not doing your reading or you're not doing your studying, then you are cramming all at the end of the quarter or semester system and then trying to get that A. It's just too difficult if you procrastinate. So this leads me to my next tip, which is school is only temporary. There's an end goal in sight. So if you are a person that typically procrastinates, you need to change that mentality and you need to change how you address work for a very minimal period of time. Because really, if you look at it, if law school is only 3 years or different programs are 4 years or whatever, it's just a very small temporary spot in your life in order to reach your ultimate goal.
And this mentality about understanding that this is just a very short period in your life, the whole family has to have that mentality. The whole family has to know that we are sacrificing for this particular period because we all have the same goal in mind.
My next tip is you have to learn how to say no. In law school or any other program that you're pursuing, you can get pulled into a lot of different activities. You see a lot of people that don't have the same constraints that you have, and they get to do all of these things, but you really have to be realistic and see what's the most important to you, and you have to say no to certain things. Now for me, the only thing I did was law review. I was on UCLA Law review and I did really nothing else. That was the most important thing to me, was to make law review, and that's the only thing I said yes to. Pretty much everything else in terms of extracurricular activities, I really had to say no to. And the next tip is don't allow people to let you feel extraordinary. And by this, I mean, I had a lot of friends in law school that were a lot younger than me, and they saw me with the kids, and sometimes the kids came to class with me on certain days, and all of my friends would say, oh my gosh, it's so amazing that you're able to do all this, that you're able to go to school and you have kids. And you know, if you let them talk you up like that and you accept that, then to me it sort of gives you an excuse not to do so well, if that makes sense. It's almost like people are telling you you're working harder than them. So you say, I'm working harder than them. If I don't do as well as someone else, then that's okay because I have different circumstances. But you should never accept that. And my next tip is be confident. There were certain days when our girls couldn't go to school, so I had to bring them to class with me. I had to strut into class as an older student with a 3 and 5-year-old, and I did it with confidence because I was there to learn. The kids weren't disturbing anyone, and I didn't want to miss out on an opportunity to learn what everyone else was learning.
And you know what? Confidence is something that we all develop as parents. And it was really great because I think our kids will go back and look at this moment in our lives and say, wow, my parents did that when I was that age and they brought me to school. I think it's going to leave a great impression on them.
So that's an example of being confident as a parent, but you really have to gain confidence as a student as well. When you go back and you are in a classroom with all younger people, when you're much older than them, there's no reason why you can't be as confident as anyone else in the room. You have a lot more life experience, and then you have a lot of different perspectives to offer because of it. So you should be confident because of that.
And our last tip is be positive. Throughout this whole process, throughout all 3 years of law school, the entire family stayed absolutely positive. Now, there were times when we could have brought our heads down and focused on the negative aspects because it's a very challenging process, but we focused on the positives.
So this is really our story about working towards financial independence, and part of it involves me going to law school. So we did make this video because we got so many comments and interest in terms of what we do. So we'll do a future video on Aman and his degree, which was in urban planning, and how he's doing in his job and what his job is like. Or if you have other interest in learning more about us, just leave a comment down below. But we really wanted to share something personal with you. So please make sure if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and join the journey.